JD Fantasy Football.
He is starting Geno Smith over Jordan Love, and I hate this on so many levels.
Then Joe Flacco comes in like he does, with his cape on.
Hey guys, welcome to JD Fantasy Football. This is David Lamson. I'm joined as usual by the Jordan Cordova. What's going on, Jordan?
How's it going, Dave? How's your day? How's your week?
Well, being a consolation bracket guy, since my season is over, wearing the brown shirt, it's good. It's good at the bottom. I won in the consolation bracket.
Well, it's better to win in the consolation bracket than lose in the first round of the actual bracket. So congratulations to your victory.
Thanks, man. It felt good. To take it to Taylor again. I think it's my second time beating him in 3 or 4 weeks or something.
Yeah. It feels good to beat him. And, I don't know who watches this podcast or not, but, my wife made it to the semifinals.
Yeah.
I'm just going to leave it at that. I don't think if you know, but
yeah.
There we go. That's the team. Jerome Ford busts a 50-plus touchdown again last week instead of Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb injures his foot, so she has a starting running back now.
Yeah.
My Lord, let's go.
Yeah, man. Well, speaking of injuries.
The Injury Report.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another week of the Injury Report. We have on the list today a fine set of ingredients and a fine set of food here, entrees for you. The first one we're going to start off with is Joe Mixon. He actually injured his ankle on Sunday in a win. He has been limited this week in practice, but has come out and said that he is fully expecting to play. I would still keep track of it on this practice report because, as we all know from Christian McCaffrey, you could say you're expected to play and then be out 11 weeks. So keep your eye on the practice report this week on Joe Mixon, but he is acting as if he could play. So Tracy Jr. Is also limited in practice this week with an ankle injury. I would just keep track of that. He seems like he will be suiting up against the Falcons, but I keep track of the next few days to kind of see how his ankle injury progresses. Zach Ertz got a concussion and was ruled out of the rest of the game last week. He has to get through the 5 steps in order to get through to play this week. It's going to be a hard hill to travel because he hasn't practiced at all this week. He has 2 more chances this week to kind of get through the protocol. Malik Neighbors actually on the injury report this week with the knee and foot injury. He has been limited in practice this week. It could be that they're just trying to rest him a little bit for the week, but keep a close eye on it because these 2 injuries are new. Hasn't been something he's been dealing with for the whole season. So you would want to keep track and see if he's going to go ahead and ramp up in practice for the next few days. The other one, which was actually a kind of surprise for me, is Zach Charbonnet. He suffered an oblique injury. He did not participate in practice at all on Wednesday. Him and Kenneth Walker could be out this week, so watch out for McIntosh. He is a sleeper, not my sleeper, hopefully not your sleeper. Hopefully I didn't blow that for you.
No, you
but he could be definitely a sleeper this week. We know Seattle likes to run the ball, and if he is the star there, he could get some big points. The last 2 people I have here are from the same team, Kansas City Chiefs. The first one is Pat Mahomes, actually after a quick scare last Sunday, got a high ankle sprain, but now is a full participant in practice this week. Doesn't have any injury designation. I'd still keep an eye on it, but it looks like he's going to go play. The reason why I mentioned that is because Hollywood Brown had his first full participation in practice on Tuesday since last year. So I do expect he will probably play. I think he might get eased back in. So I don't know if you'd want to play him this week and trust that his easing back in, kind of see how this week goes, but he might be a potential good play on the finals for next week for who has Hollywood Brown. If you held out on him this long, you might as well keep him rolling there for that time. So that is who I have on the injury report this week.
That's interesting. Yeah, that Nick Chubb injury. More to come on that. But yeah, that's interesting, Jordan. Man, that 49ers. Just listening to sleepers across the internet this week, a lot of talk about the 49ers backup running backs, as it's been all season.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just kind of been a revolving door.
Yeah, absolutely. You don't know who's coming in, but you know they're going to run the dog shit right out of them.
I mean, one of them might just one of the players might just walk off the field. You never know.
You just have no idea. Some of them are just like, I'm done playing. Brett.
Yeah.
I'm just out. Do not play me. So, Isaac Guerendo, I hope that you're not expected to just walk off the field. You know, you wouldn't expect it with the Bucks, but you know, with the the way the San Francisco's going this year, they might have the next Antonio Brown, where like the running back just takes off his pads and shirts and throwing gloves into the stand and just starts walking out of the stadium.
Yeah. Did you know? I felt bad because my sleeper last week was Sincere McCormick, and he actually was doing pretty good until he made his way onto the injury report.
And he isn't expected to be in the IR, but the way that he's talking is like, I'm staying with the Raiders. Like, almost like, yeah, not going to play again this year. So,
yeah, it's if I felt bad. A lot of people started Sincere because we recommended him.
Yeah. Let's go with Mir. No.
Yeah, it was pretty rough. Madison got a lot of touches, but didn't do a whole lot either. So,
yeah.
But my sleeper for this week, in the wake of that, is Jerome Ford. Jerome Ford's been at best a flex option, like for most teams this year, and he's moved himself into the RB2 solid flex option this week with Nick Chubb's injury. He is the running game for the Browns this week, and against the Dolphins, I think it's the Dolphins this week. No, it's not.
It's not the Dolphins.
They
play the Cincinnati Bengals.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, baby.
Yeah. I think he's got a really good matchup this week. Jerome Ford is my sleeper.
Love that. My sleeper is Kirk Old Man Chains Cousins is sitting out. So let's go with the Michael Penix Jr. show. I do not have a lot of stats for anybody. I don't know how he's going to show up during this whole, his first start in the NFL. But I do know he plays the Giants, the Commanders, and the Panthers the next 3 weeks. So he's definitely coming on at a right time to kind of go. He can't get any worse than what Kirk Cousins has been the last few weeks, throwing a total of 15. When you have getting paid as much money as Kirk Cousins is getting paid, and you have your team sit you on the bench after a win, they only throw the ball 15 times against the shitty Raiders teams, and you still throw a pick. You know it's bad. You have Drake London, you have Kyle Pitts, you have Bijan Robinson, you have Darnell Mooney, you have a Ray McLeod, you have a stacked offense, and you can't throw the ball in their general direction. You haven't thrown a touchdown in 8 weeks. There was a change that needed to happen. Michael Penix Jr. is almost set up just as good as Caleb Williams was, if not better. I think Michael Penix Jr. could be a huge pick this week. Depending, they're playing the Giants. They're probably going to run a bunch of times, but I really hope that they try. I mean, at this point, you're trying to test your rookie out, so you might as well see what he has to offer. I think he's going to get the ball downfield. I think he's going to be great. I think he is a breath of fresh air that team absolutely needs. I also think the coach needs to be fired, and they need to get a brand new head coach.
I couldn't agree more with that sleeper. I love this situation for Penix, and the real winner of this is the offensive line for the Atlanta Falcons. He couldn't move.
No.
Kirk Cousins could not get out of the pocket. He was a statue. Now they've got a guy that can get out of the pocket. He can run, play action, may actually work. He can throw the deep ball. He's got every throw in his game. Penix is the man. I'm loving him this week. That's a good sleeper.
How much money did they put on Kirk Cousins? You know what I mean? To sit him at the end of the season. He's got like 2-3 years left on that contract. They ain't getting out of that. He's going to be the most paid bench warmer in the thing. But boom wise this week, I have the one, the almighty Sonic, Jahmyr Gibbs. No David Montgomery anymore. I don't think I need to say anymore. I will. In the last 2 games, even with Montgomery there, he has gotten 5 receptions, at least 5 receptions in both games, and a receiving touchdown in both of those games. On top of that, with the 3 games last year without Montgomery, he got 54 carries, 300 yards, and 2 rushing touchdowns. He was still also averaging 5 catches per game for about 40 yards a game. I think he is due for a huge game. They're going to be playing ahead against the Chicago Bears team because they're not a great offensive squad. I think they're going to be running the ball all day. And so I think Jahmyr Gibbs is absolutely going to have an enormous week this week.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, that's going to be awesome. My boom is also running back. It's James Conner. He is a huge part of the passing game. He's a monster runner. He's RB11 in the league. I can't sing his praises enough. And he's going to have another big this week against the Panthers. I absolutely love this guy. Listen, the only way they're going to beat the Panthers is if he has a big game, and I think he will. So I think James Conner is a must start for anybody this week.
All year long, I have been I threw trade after trade after trade. I offered Garrett Wilson. I offered a bunch of people like Cameron to get James Conner until finally he cracked when Darnell Mooney had that breakout game that one week. He's like, I want Darnell Mooney. And I told him, I want James Conner. So let's figure out a trade to make this happen. I'll give you a lot of people for him. So I love that boom for this week. Absolutely.
Yeah, we got Caleb back in the chat. What's up, Caleb?
Caleb, welcome back. Aaron Rodgers looking better than Kirk Cousins. Absolutely. And let me tell you, at the beginning of this year, halfway through this year, would never have thought I would say such a sentence. But, Aaron Rodgers is definitely looking better. He's on his way out. He just did his documentary onto Netflix. He's getting into, eventually he wants to be that Jeopardy host. Hopefully he can get into that situation. So,
well, obviously the comparison between the two is the Achilles, both of them coming back from Achilles injuries. And Aaron has looked even more mobile than Kirk.
He's ran.
Yeah. So it's crazy.
Versus the Bears, but didn't get it. I know, man. I got Josh Allen, basically.
Yeah.
And Terry McLaurin, I was talking before the podcast, Terry McLaurin had 2 50-yard catches wide open. One of them overthrown. I can understand a little bit. It was a little overthrown, touched his fingertips. The second one hit him right in the mitts and dropped that one. So I get that one catch, and I'm playing the Bears, which after all the heat he gave me for my team, he needed it. This was the revenge tour we didn't know we wanted, but we all needed. I needed to beat Skip, and I needed to beat the Bears to go into the finals and win this championship, and it just fell short.
Man, brutal.
Who's your bust, Dave?
Well, gosh, I hate to say it.
You jinxed me last week, so who's your buzz this week?
I didn't jinx you. I called that. Okay.
who are you saying this week? Jaden Daniels? Is this who you're going to go with? Who are you going with?
It's Tua.
Oh,
Tua has been so great. He has been so great, but something has turned off in his brain, and I don't know what it is. He's still throwing 40 passes a game, but he cannot find a receiver. He had three interceptions last week, and he's going up against the 49ers this week. Say what you will about the 49ers, they still are tough to throw against. Tua's going to be seeing ghosts again. I don't think you can play. He's questionable for the game anyway, but I don't think you can play Tua. It's just not looking good for him this week.
Yeah, the guy I'm going to say you probably have been rocking with him all week. You probably don't have a backup plan for him as well. So you're probably going to have to rock with him. Last week, I got bit in the ass with the A.J. Brown selection. Although it was only one quarter, let's hold up. It's not like he went off for 130 yards and 5 touchdowns. He just had one good quarter, really. So it's not like I was so far off. But this week, I'm sticking with the Lions. I'm going with Jared Goff. I don't think this will be a shootout game. In Chicago. I think they're going to be up ahead. I think, as I said for my boom, that they're going to be running the ball a lot. Chicago's defense did stop Sam Darnold to only 9 points in fantasy this week, which Sam Darnold is a perfect example of who Jared Goff is as well. So I don't think he's going to be throwing the ball a ton. I think that this is going to be a running game, a blowout. So I think this week is a week that, if you have Jared Goff, I think he's going to score 10 points in fantasy at max.
That's really interesting. Jared Goff, man, he just hasn't shown any signs of slowing down,
No.
So that's
when having to throw, he has been really good. And by any means, this bust, if anyone's listening to this, this bust has nothing to do with his season or him as a player. I just think in the matchup, Chicago is a good defense. And I think that their bad offense, they're going to be running the ball a lot. And they're just going to, I think they're
You're
going
saying
to.
The Lions are a bad offense?
No, the Bears are a bad offense.
Oh, okay.
So Lions are going to be blowing these guys out by a lot. And so I don't see Jared Goff having to toss the ball a ton this game.
I mean, but have you heard Dan Campbell talking this week? I mean, he wants to score 150 points this week against the Bears. He is.
Like I said, be good to have Jahmyr Gibbs. No, I'm just maybe Jared Goff goes off this week. I don't know. He could. They stopped. It was a blowout game with Minnesota. Sam Darnold only put down 9 points. So I still think that it's going to be a running game, just like
Who's
the
the
Minnesota
backup
Vikings.
in Detroit? I don't even know who their backup quarterback is.
No idea.
Yeah.
I wish I could tell you.
Might see him this week, though, right?
Oh, yeah. Maybe not with Dan Campbell.
Yeah.
So, backup quarterback is Teddy Bridgewater. Actually, what a pretty decent backup. At some point, if Jared Goff had actually crapped the bed at any point, you might be hearing fans scream for that guy to get onto the field. So, out for blood or Caleb, welcome back next year, buddy. Happy that you're making another year. You're out for blood. You're gonna use my name too soon, Caleb. Too soon, buddy. I just got eliminated. I guess you got eliminated. Yo, you played my wife last week. I'm sorry, Caleb. We're both eliminated. You can use my name.
Pulling up the fantasy cast here. All right. So we've got Mahomes, who shouldn't even be here. 7-7.
Beats the number one team in our league.
Yeah, shouldn't even be here. And he is going up against your wife. What's gonna make or break this for these teams, man?
Well, I think something big's going to be your boom for me. How Jerome Ford performs is going to really dictate how this week kind of plays out. I also think same thing with James Cook.
Yeah.
What James Cook are we going to get? It's obviously proven that they would rather try to do their rendition of the tush push when they're at the 1 yard line. So James Cook's going to have to score outside of the 10, 5 yards. So those will be the big two things for me. Kenneth Walker hasn't even practiced, so I'd be surprised if he even plays. If that's the case, he's playing Spears or Algier or Benson. But I guess Jalen Hurts is also one, right?
Yeah. Yeah, Jalen threw down the gauntlet at the press conference, but what has he really shown us? He didn't throw for 400 yards or something. He just did what you're supposed to do as a quarterback, and he acted like he was the bee's knees. Oh, your wife cheated by way of voodoo? Whoa.
Wow. Dude, right? Just because she's a Latina doesn't mean there's no voodoo over here, right? Man,
Cooper Kupp got me 0 points. Yeah. Cooper Kupp, man. Yeah, we talked about that last week. That pretty brutal.
Yeah, I think that lost a lot of teams.
Mm-hmm.
Fantasy playoffs there. So, but I'm in agreement with you with Jalen Hurts. He threw for 290 yards, had 15 carries for 45 yards, which isn't efficient. Really, most of his touchdown points are based off of he's never thrown 3 touchdowns all year long. Yeah. Never thrown 3 touchdowns all year long. He's gotten touchdowns because typically how it happens, Saquon Barkley gets him down the freaking field, and then at the 1 yard line, they're like, hey, let's just push him into the end zone instead of giving it to our power running back. You know how many Do you know there's at least 10 or 11 touchdowns more that Saquon Barkley could have, but because they decide that they want to do the tush push every time, that they give it to Jalen Hurts? He's literally, if he was on any other team that doesn't have the tush push, he is a mediocre quarterback.
Wow. All this Jalen Hurts hate.
Sorry.
Jalen had some really good throws, though. When he was
Mhm.
hunting Brown, he threw on time, on target, and got him touchdowns. I think he looked good at points in that game, but you're right. Sometimes it's his decision making. Sometimes he tucks it and runs it early. But Devontae Smith was
Smith.
making some great catches with Dallas Goedert. I was hearing some talk about this that Devontae Smith, like since 2023, when Goddard's out, he just tears it up. So
Yeah.
look for another week of Devontae Smith tearing it up.
Yeah, I mean, 290 yards is really good. He's only gone over that mark one other time this year. So
It's
we'll
kind of
see.
a crazy year. We've got James Cook and Jerome Ford starting over Deebo Samuel for your wife, and it makes sense. Like, I think that's a good move. That's a really strange
He
year we've
just,
got.
Deebo Samuel's just, I mean, last week had a wide open catch, nobody in front of him, going for a touchdown. Now, mind you, Brock Purdy looked pretty bad last week. So it's hard to say that, but I mean, he just hasn't been the player. He's had two really good games this week or this year, and he just really turned it off since week 11. I mean, 6 points, 3 points, 4 points, 5 points, 4 points. Just he's never been that bad, even at the beginning of this year. It's really shocking to see how bad he's become unplayable as of recently.
So who do you have winning this? Do you have Mahomes or do you have your wife winning this? I got your wife. There's no
I have
reason
my
she
wife.
shouldn't win, but Mahomes just keeps upsetting people. It's crazy.
Yeah, I think Kenneth Walker is not going to play, even though that they're saying that he's in right now. I think he hasn't participated in anything in any practices. He has 2 more days to do that. Could he do it? Absolutely. If he plays, Minnesota's a tough defense regardless. So I don't know if that's going to be a huge play for him. Like you said, San Francisco's a tough defense to play against.
Yeah.
Washington's nothing to sneeze at. Looking through the teams, Mahomes could easily have an 80 to 90 point week. And I think Lex could potentially have, I think 100 to 110 easily, possibly 120. I mean, she was the second highest scorer last week.
Yeah,
So,
she should win for sure.
yeah.
Moving to the other championship bracket semifinal here, we've got Skip, who is heavy on Josh Allen. We've got DeBears, who has kind of won by committee, has done really well. I think the Bears are in trouble this week, even though she's projected to win, or he. Looking at Jonathan Taylor against Tennessee, I don't think that's a favorable matchup. I think he'll still do fine. He won't be a bust, but I think it's going to be a liability in this matchup.
Yeah, and even then, Hall came in. He ran 9 times last week for 30 yards. They're trying to get the ball to Devontae Adams. He's not the same player. He really hasn't had really a bunch of touches for a bunch of times. He's never gone over 20 touches this year, carries this year as a running back. They're using all of their running backs. So Breece Hall is a hard one to play. Jonathan Taylor's a hard one to play. And to be really honest with you, the only reason the Bears is here this week is because Amon-Ra St. Brown played the Buffalo Bills, and he had one of those players in there because 14 catches for 193 yards and 1 touchdown. He got 45 points last week. Without that, if he scores 20, or even what he was projected for, he loses that game by 10, 15 points against Josh. So I mean, you could say the same about Skip's team, but I think Josh Allen's playing New England. He could have a huge game, obviously. Jordan Addison has obviously been one of the favorite targets there. Jonnu Smith's been playing well. So the real question for Skip's team is Zach Charbonnet is questionable. That he hasn't practiced. Kenneth Walker hasn't practiced. Which one of them plays? Do they both play? That puts him down into a bad position as well. So who do you play in that aspect in that point?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I'm not going to bet against Josh Allen, even against New England. I'm not going to bet against him. I think Skip wins this week too.
I think it's a Skip Lex finals.
Yep.
and you have the number 7 seed versus like the number 5 seed.
Yeah.
Number 1
It's-
and 2, we lost this week. So
It's happened that way in this league before. I think 2 years ago it was kind of like that, where the people that just squeaked into the playoffs ended up in the final. So
that was me. I won it. I
Yeah.
came in that I barely made the playoffs that year, and somehow I came out with the championship.
Well,
So
I'm really happy for Skip. I know that he's had a little stress on himself all year, and I am happy that his team is performing well at the very end.
that just proves I'm going Josh Allen number 1 next year. So
That
Skip,
would
you're gonna have to
be-
figure another way to win.
That would be the ultimate troll move. It's just Skip would be so mad. He would be like he might stop the league that minute. Just like
Well, he's literally won 2 years. He won last year and this year, and Josh Allen is the only common person in that team. So I'm sorry, Skip. I'm taking him first, second round next year. So I hope that you got a bigger pick than me because I'm taking Josh Allen.
Well, loving it, Caleb. I'm glad you were on tonight. We're gonna end the recording here on Riverside. So goodbye, Spotify. Goodbye, YouTube. We're gonna bump over onto TikTok and do a TikTok live and just see how crazy that gets, because it usually goes pretty nuts. So
Yeah, pretty fun.
appreciate
Come
it,
join
Caleb.
us.
Appreciate everyone that listens on the interwebs, and we'll see you guys next time.